this is Jenna.
And this is Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked. We are continuing with our book, 1984 by George Orwell. Today is Chapter 3, Part 5, and Heather's going to give a quick recap on what happened on Chapter 3, Part 4 last week.
So basically on Chapter 3, Part 4 last week, we came to the conclusion that Winston basically has to start all over with his torturing because he had a thought crime.
In a dream. A fucking dream. And because of that, O'Brien's like, okay, you're basically going against me again, and you were doing so well, but emotionally he's just not there yet. And O'Brien believes that's why he had this thought crime in his dream, because emotionally he's not 100% under the party. Which is fucking insane.
There's still 10% of him that is still himself, but most of him is part of the party, and O'Brien...
He's pretty well brainwashed.
Yeah, O'Brien's trying to get rid of that last little
bit, which is so stupid. So, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just fucking stupid.
No, I mean, yeah, it is, definitely.
And I'm getting hangry, guys, so...
She's hangry.
I'm hangry. And we get to eat as soon as this is over, so...
Oh, it's going to be really...
It's going to be a quick episode.
No, but what I'm saying is what we're going to discuss is going to be real appetizing.
I know, right?
You're like, we get to eat after this.
I know, this is such a disgusting chapter.
Yeah.
So it starts off with Winston trying to explain kind of where he is within the building, because obviously it's windowless. He had no idea if it's upstairs, downstairs, if it's daylight, if it's nighttime outside. He has no idea of anything. And he believes that he is very, very, very deep underground.
Oh. We should say, in the last part...
What?
It ended with O'Brien saying, room 101. So that's where Winston is going now.
Oh, yeah. So he's headed to room 101. I'm sorry.
And we should say that in the last episode, I was like, I thought that he had already been to 101, and we thought that he did. He's never been to 101.
No, we find that out in this part.
Yeah. So this is
I thought
him.
he was going back to room 101, and instead, he's back to the tight restraints, and now O'Brien says, you asked me once, what is in room 101? I told you that you knew the answer already. Everyone knows it. The thing that is in room 101 is the worst thing in the world. But the worst thing in the world varies from individual to individual. It may be burial alive, or death by fire, or by drowning, or by impalement, or 50 other deaths. There are cases where it is some quite trivial thing, not even fatal.
It's like your worst nightmare. I think mine would...
Don't say it on the air. What if some sadistic fucking person finds you and does it to you?
No, that's not going to happen. And all I was going to say is I don't like spiders. That would be my worst nightmare, is if I had to be in a room with spiders.
You are dumb to put that on the air.
What are they going to do? Come and find me and put me in a room with spiders?
Yes. There are sadistic people out there, Heather. We have a conspiracy show. The fucked up people that are out there.
Have you ever seen the movie Arachnophobia?
Yeah, with the giant spider at the end.
I think that's where my fear of spiders came.
I was 12 or 11 when I watched that. And I watched it on a Saturday morning in bed. I was it was on ABC Family or TBS or something.
I mean, it's not scary, but it's enough that the spiders are just crawling all over everything.
Did it end with a big ass spider at the end?
The boss spider?
The boss spider, yeah, I'm serious.
In a video game where you have to kill the big
all the
boss.
Little ones, and then you get to the boss. Exactly. I swear that's what happened, and it had David Arquette in it, didn't it?
I think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, but for some reason that movie really sticks out to me, and I think that's one of those movies. I
have other ways, too. That was a more mild one.
Okay. Well, anyways, so we find out in this case, it's rats.
Ugh.
And there was a wire cage with a handle on top for carrying it.
and in the front of it was something that looked like a fencing mask with concave side outwards.
Oh.
So you could attach your head to it, and O'Brien would open the door, and the rats would proceed to eat Winston's face.
And then it starts making a little more sense why they fattened him up so much. So the rats can eat his face off.
I didn't even think of that.
Oh, I did. I was like, I wonder if
And
they
you
can
know
pull
what?
teeth out too, because...
You know what's interesting that I thought about? Is, in Mr. Charrington's room, remember the rats that were in the walls and the rats that were everywhere? And Julia was going to patch up the hole?
I remember she just picked one up and threw it once.
Yeah, and Winston's like, and we're like, what a fucking pansy. I wonder if it's because that's why he's scared of rats. And he's like, oh, yeah.
Well, that's how they know he's scared of rats, because they've been following him for 7 years.
fucking years, yeah.
So they know that Julia's a badass and she don't give a fuck about rats. So they're going to come after Winston with this death mask.
And then Winston says, you can't do that. You couldn't. It's impossible. And O'Brien's like, the fuck? Yeah, I can't.
And I fucking will.
Yeah. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Don't do it. And then O'Brien said, pain is not always enough. There are occasions when a human being will stand out against pain, even to the point of death. But for everyone, there is something unendurable, something that cannot be contemplated. And so pretty much they're saying that if you are submerged in water and you come out, you're going to instantly breathe. If you are falling from a height, it wouldn't be cowardly to like grab a rope. It's just like your instincts to like survival. And so I think what they're trying to do is remove that instinct of survival, and that is how they get into his head to believe that 2 + 2 is 5, because I think that's part of their process. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I do, but the thing is like with those analogies, that makes perfect sense. But like even Winston is saying, well, what am I going to do with the rats? Like, how am I going to get them off? The only thing I could do is put another body in my place.
Yeah, so I was thinking that he was going to somehow throw the, I don't know, somehow get the cage onto O'Brien's head.
That's what I thought too.
But,
he was going to have some kind of struggle and put it on O'Brien, and then somehow run out of the room
and
escape. Something.
And live forever. And then, and apparently rats are carnivorous. So they, eat meat, which, okay, whatever, but they eat people that are helpless, like babies. And they'll, I guess the rats nowadays, or in this book, are just, really...
Well, because there's no food in this 1984 world. People are fighting over breadcrumbs, and they're hiding breadcrumbs in their pocket. So the rats have resorted to eating carcasses from probably people that get blown up in the streets from the many bombs.
Or the people that are sick or dying that show astonishing intelligence. They show astonishing intelligence in knowing when a human being is helpless. Some women don't even leave their baby alone in the house for even 5 minutes, because they'll come back and the rats would have eaten the baby and harmed the baby. So rats literally kill. And oh my god.
And rats are actually really smart if you think about it, because they use rats nowadays
lab rats,
in mazes and stuff. So it's not surprising to me that they would be able
have evolution.
Figure this shit out.
Yeah. So O'Brien pressed the first lever, and that pretty much just starts opening the cage to release the rats.
Yeah, but in the process, he's very creepily
stating,
you understand the construction of this cage? The mask will fit over your head, leaving no exit. When I press this other lever, the door of the cage will slide up. These starving brutes will shoot out of it like bullets. You will have seen a rat leap
through the air.
Oh my god.
Oh, have you seen a rat leap through the air? Like, they're starving rats on top of it. His face is all plump.
Yeah, and they'll leap onto his face and bore straight into him. Sometimes they attack the eyes first. Sometimes they burrow through the cheeks and devour the tongue.
They always go for soft tissue.
So that's how it's going to be. That is how Winston is going to die. He's going to be devoured and eaten alive by rats.
But maybe he won't even die. Maybe he'll just end up blind and mute.
Maybe, but when this happens, they struck his nostrils first.
Ugh.
And then so they're going up his, like, nose.
I think that means he smelled how foul the rat smelled.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe, yeah. Suddenly the foul, musty odor of the brutes. I kind of, like...
There's, like, pungent, foul,
he blacked out.
Smell.
He almost lost consciousness. I think about this point, I did as well, and just kind of didn't really read this part because it's so, like, graphic and just...
It says, everything had gone black. For an instant, he was insane, a screaming animal. Yet he came out of the blackness, clutching an idea. There was one and only one way to save himself. He must interpose. Interpose?
Yeah, interpose another human being.
Yeah.
The body of another human being between himself and the rats.
Yeah.
So, that's...
Ooh, but I had a question.
Yes.
It says, the rats knew what was coming now, and one of them was leaping up and down. The other one, old, like a grandfather, stood up with his pink hands against the bars, fiercely sniffing the air, like he could smell Winston.
Yeah.
But then it goes down and says that this type of punishment was common practice in Imperial China.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that true? Or is that
Probably.
just the book?
No, it's probably true.
Like, did they actually do this?
I know they did this in, like, Egyptian times, so I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do it in China as well.
Well,
I mean, I didn't
Imperial
look it up.
China, so I think that's a certain time.
Yeah, that's
period.
when Mulan was in Imperial China. I think so, if Disney's right, which Disney doesn't lie too much.
I'm like, did George Orwell just come up with this, like, crazy idea of this, like, mask of flesh-eating rats? Or was this something that China really implemented during the Imperial time?
Yeah, there was called the Rats Dungeon, or Dungeon of Rats. Yes, it was one of the 5 punishments in Imperial China during the Western Han Dynasty. Tattooing and amputation were abolished as punishments.
But they went on to rat feasting.
Yes.
Wow.
I just did a quick search, and that's what came up. So, yes, it really was a common punishment in Imperial China.
That's insane.
Have you ever been to the torture museums?
No, I haven't. I don't want to go.
I went to one once, and it's, like, not okay. And there's a lot of torture.
Yeah.
Like, things.
I mean, it's not funny, but, like, that's a nervous laugh. Like, yeah, like...
Yeah, no,
ew.
and it's, like, thank God we don't do any of that anymore. But I always think of it like, well, maybe in 100 years they're going to look at things that we do as like, oh my God, I can't believe they survived through that and they did that and it was common practice. Like, I don't know, childbirth without an epidural. Like, how did people survive that? I know people still do now, but like, as a common thing, they did that all the time. Like, there was no epidurals. So I'm always like, how is that a common practice?
Well, a lot of women died in
50 years ago.
They died in childbirth. I'm sure some of them died due to pain.
Yeah, it's insane to me, though. So I always wonder, like, what we're doing today where we would be like, how could they do that then? How could they survive, like, nowadays? You know, like, but in 50 years. Anyways, so all of a sudden, as he is pushing up the lever again, or, like, to open and release the rats.
It's gonna happen.
He says, do it to Julia, do it to Julia, not me. Julia, I don't care what you do to her. Tear her face off, strip her to the bones, not me. Julia, not me. And I'm like, I did not see that coming. He has been so faithful to Julia, and the rats did him in. He ratted on Julia with the rats.
Oh my gosh. And it's so funny because in the last chapter, last part, I was like, oh yeah, even O'Brien admitted
gave him
that
credit.
he didn't like sell out on Julia, but he just did, and all it took was the rats.
Sure as fuck did. Yeah, isn't that so crazy? And so all of a sudden, O'Brien just closes the cage door, clicked it shut and not open, and I cannot wait to find out what happens next, because I can't imagine O'Brien allowing him to walk away from this. I can't believe that O'Brien would allow Winston to talk his way out of this situation, like, at all. Like, how could that possibly happen?
It could have just been a total mindfuck, and he wasn't really going to do it. That's
no,
what I thought.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. O'Brien is not, you're giving O'Brien too much humanity credit.
But we don't even know if Julia's alive. So what if O'Brien's like, fuck that, she's not even alive. She must be alive then. Maybe they're going to get Julia now.
I don't know, but I really want to see what happens next. We have one more part, guys. We're almost done. And we are going to find out next week what happens.
And I can't wait to know if Julia's face is going to get ripped off.
She deserves it.
Oh, man. So this is a really short chapter, but thank you so much for listening. And do not forget to share, like, subscribe, and follow us. We are Conspiracy is Unlocked on all social media platforms.
And email us at conspiraciesunlocked@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Bye.